everyone. Welcome back to Reddit Affair Diaries. How's your day going so far? I hope it's been great, but if not, don't stress, you're in the perfect spot to relax and dive into some juicy relationship stories. There's always something new and unexpected waiting around the corner here. Before we jump in, leave a comment and share something good from your day. Let's keep the good vibes going and start this story together.
This Reddit story final updates from the r/marriage subreddit involves the OP's husband falling in love with another woman. What should she do now?
It's been a long journey, and while I'm finally at the end of it, getting here wasn't easy. I hope you're doing well as you read this. I wanted to share my experience because maybe it'll resonate with someone out there and help them as much as the Reddit community helped me. Looking back, I still feel a pang in my chest thinking about how it all began. I was married to a man I thought I knew. We had built a life together, made plans, and shared countless moments that felt irreplaceable. But a while back, he told me he'd fallen in love with another woman he met online. They hadn't met in person, but their connection grew strong, and before I knew it, he was asking me to open up our marriage so he could pursue a relationship with her, while we remained married. The request stunned me. He spoke like it was a solution, a way to keep what we had while also allowing him to explore his new feelings. I said no. I couldn't agree to it. To me, marriage meant commitment, a bond between two people who had promised to be enough for each other. He didn't understand my refusal. His online relationship fizzled out after that, but his attempts to push me toward the idea of an open marriage kept lingering. This was the beginning of what became an exhausting cycle of promises, demands, and confusion. After his affair partner ended things with him, he came to me, broken and desperate, and begged for reconciliation. I agreed, but inside, I knew I wasn't ready to just forgive and forget. My heart was already halfway out the door, though I wasn't quite ready to admit it to myself yet. I was buying time, making plans in secret. We both started individual therapy, and I still see my therapist today. Each time we separated, I hoped it might give me clarity, maybe even the strength to walk away. But each time I returned, things went from bad to worse. He was always there, hovering just a bit too close, pushing boundaries that I had firmly set. When I made it clear I didn't want physical contact, he ignored my wishes, trying to touch me, invading my space. And when he felt desperate, he would use emotional threats, even going so far as to say he'd harm himself if I left him. There's no easy way to describe the toll it took on me. My mind felt like a prison, locked in fear and obligation. It wasn't until I spoke with my therapist that I finally understood the full scope of what I was living through. This wasn't just him being clingy or insecure. It was abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, in ways I hadn't recognized before. I thought abuse had to be loud, violent, with visible scars. But this was different. It was manipulation, guilt-tripping, and emotional blackmail woven into the fabric of our life together so subtly that I hadn't noticed it happening. With this understanding came the realization that I needed to leave. He had shaped me into someone who constantly put his needs before my own, someone who rarely dared to say, no. I'd become so used to rationalizing his behavior, excusing his actions, even convincing myself that this was what marriage looked like. But seeing it for what it was, I knew I couldn't stay. The more I tried to distance myself, the harder he tried to reel me back in. He would cycle between pleading and playing the victim, reminding me of our beautiful memories and the life we had built together. I knew his game now, but breaking free from years of conditioning was incredibly hard. I wanted so desperately to be free of him, but it felt like he was always pulling me back, with words and actions that constantly wore me down. Finally, I reached my breaking point. I called a friend for support and asked her to come with me when I confronted him for what would be the last time. The three of us sat down in our home, and with my heart pounding so hard I could barely speak, I told him it was over. I handed him the divorce papers, my fingers trembling. It's strange to admit this, but it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I felt terrified. Even though I knew I had to do it, part of me couldn't help but feel afraid. But I was also determined, and with my friend by my side, I told him it was final. He looked at me with a mixture of shock, heartbreak, and anger, and he asked me again and again if I was sure. I stood firm. I was sure. I had to be. He brought up everything we'd shared, even the family we had once planned to have. Was it all for nothing? He asked, his voice thick with pain and resentment. I felt my own heart ache in that moment, but I knew my answer. It hurt to say it, but I told him, yes, it was over. To my surprise, he eventually accepted it. I could tell he didn't want to, but he signed the papers and left, going back to stay with his parents for a while. There are still things to sort out, dividing our assets, figuring out what to do with the house, and he even mentioned wanting to try marriage counseling. But for now, I'm done. For the first time in what feels like forever, I'm free. These last few hours have been surreal. There have been moments where I broke down, moments where I felt a strange sense of joy, and then moments of such peace that I could finally sleep. It's like a huge weight has been lifted from my chest. I don't know where my life will go from here, but I know I'll be okay. And a huge part of that strength came from the support and insight I received from people here. That first Reddit post was a turning point for me. It was the moment I saw everything clearly and realized I needed to take control of my life. So to anyone reading this, thank you. Thank you for your words, your stories, and your kindness. I never imagined I'd be here, writing this, but here I am. It's never too late to reclaim your life, and if I can do it, so can anyone. Lots of love, and here's to a brighter future.
Relevant comment by Reddit users. After everything he's done, he has the nerve to say, "Was it all for nothing?" Right after cheating on you. It's hard to believe how selfish he is. Honestly, he sounds like an absolute jerk. But congrats on getting your freedom. Response by OP. Exactly. The hypocrisy is unreal. The worst part is, he's so charming that most people around us, even some who know what he did, still think he's a good guy who just lost his way. It's like they can't accept that someone they care about could be a bad person. Commenter. The only reason he agreed to the divorce is because 1. You had a witness, and 2. He probably thinks he can still convince you to come back just like he has before. Whatever you do, don't go back. Change the locks, passwords, and get all the utilities in your name. Make everything as secure as possible because he'll likely get really angry once he realizes you're serious about divorcing him. When he can't get you back, he might try to mess with your life any way he can. Be ready for anything. Response by OP. I agree. He knows exactly how to push my buttons and might use that to get me back. I've kept notes on all the things he's done and saved comments from friends and Reddit to remind me why I'm leaving. I'll look at them whenever I feel doubtful. I can't change the locks yet since he still owns part of the house, but I'll handle the rest. Thank you for the advice.
Update: my husband fell in love with another woman and wants to try polyamory. My previous post should have been the final update. I wish. God, I wish. But no, of course not. Of course it got worse, again. Fuck my life. After my soon-to-be ex-husband signed the divorce papers, we went no contact, or at least, I tried to. He still sent me text messages, voice messages, and tried to call me multiple times. He even sent me a long letter full of statements such as, "I'm concerned that your mental health is deteriorating. I believe you need antidepressants to help you feel like yourself again," or, "Your trauma is understandable, but it probably makes you want to punish me by making irrational decisions, like divorce," or, "I am afraid you are surrounding yourself with questionable influences that have bad agendas. Please let me help you see it through." He claimed that the crisis was just as hard for him as it was for me. People told me he was escalating and that I should protect myself. I should have listened immediately, but I didn't react soon enough. Then he came to our street. He arrived uninvited and pleaded with me to give him a second chance. He said he wanted to be there for me and for us, insisting that he didn't deserve any of this. I started to feel distressed. He saw that I was unwell and wanted to comfort me, so he hugged me. But I didn't want to be touched. I'm pretty sure I told him no. I think I screamed no multiple times, but my memory is fuzzy. Either I misremember, or I did say no and he ignored it and didn't stop. I know it's just a hug, but it triggered a severe panic attack. He called emergency services, telling them he was worried about me because I wasn't myself. I had to ask the paramedics to make him leave. After that, he told me he was there for me if I needed him, but he thought we needed space. He contacted half our social circle to inform them that I was unwell and needed support, our mutual friends, my colleagues, our neighbors, my physician. People reached out of the blue to ask if I was okay. I became paranoid, unsure of who to trust anymore. Close friends, my therapist, and people here helped me see things more clearly. My lawyer filed a restraining order against him, but unfortunately, it was refused. Not enough concrete evidence of a threat, apparently. I want to scream. We submitted a second request, which is currently being reviewed. In the meantime, I've moved into an apartment of my own. He doesn't know where I live. Hell, almost nobody does. I constantly wonder how he reacted when he found out. I'm still paying my half of the mortgage because nothing has been decided regarding our house yet. It's financially very hard for me, but I do feel safer. I am feeling much better, although I remain haunted by constant stress, sleep disorders, nightmares, nervous tics, random bursts of tears, and rushes of anxiety. My physician prescribed me sedatives. They do make it easier. I realize I'm isolating myself more and more. I try to fight it, but I'm really afraid that sensitive information could leak, even accidentally. I've started reaching out to my closest friends again, as much as I can. I am trying to come back here on Reddit. I keep going to therapy. It's necessary. Because one part of me, the part he cultivated for so long, urges me to stop all of this, to go back to the house, cancel the restraining order, cancel the divorce, call him, apologize, and repair our relationship. It would be insane. I am not going to do that. I do not listen to that little voice. I don't. But when your defenses are attacked over and over again, it becomes incredibly hard to reason properly. I can't wait for the divorce to be over. I just want to move on. I want all of this to be behind me. I'm sorry this is bleak. I wish I would have left sooner. I just hope this can help someone, anyone.
Relevant comment by Reddit users. Install cameras fast. It's for your sanity and your extremely abusive husband. Comment. Excellent advice. Couldn't possibly agree more with this suggestion. OP. Security cameras inside and outside, if at all possible, and 24-hour monitoring with a security service provider is preferable. Response by OP. I already have a Ring doorbell. I am waiting for this month's salary, which should probably arrive today or tomorrow, to buy additional cameras. I also got my landlord's authorization to add latches to the door. I hope this will help.